Let's look at defining some territories. So we use our territories software, and territories defined in terms of some base polygons, some base zones. So for example, let's use our some Canberra zones, and we're also to use some attribute to help us set up our territories. Now we can set up territories in a couple of ways, but the simple way is interactively set them up. So we can choose some zones and make that into our first territory. Choose another set of zones and make them into our second territory. And once we've got two, the software can operate, and what it's doing is amalgamating up the zones we've defined as each territory and classifying them according to the attribute. Now we can add new territories, typical sort of thing. So here's our third territory. Okay. Put our names on the top so we know where we are, and say we can further define it. Say we want to add this this zone here into that territory. Fine. Add selected with a cursor, so we select that one and we add it into territory BBB, and so on. So our base map has to be a properly structured geographic file. In other words, it's got to have the lines have to be built into polygons and built into zones, and then we can define our territories such that they're made up of sets of these base zones. Now, the territory definition can be stored as one of our combined files, and a combined file basically says that, you know, we've got these items A, B and C, and B is made up of this set of zones and C is made up of this set of zones, and so on. And we can output the territories as a combined file, and we're good to go. Now, you find in a lot of the mapping and things you're doing mapping for is that things are similar, they interact what you do, and in fact a lot of the so-called applications you end up doing pretty similar things. So for example, we can define our set of initial territories instead of interactively. We could use our location allocation software. So let's choose our location allocation device file, and then we can go to location allocation, and let's look at something a bit bigger, this Sydney, and we have a base map there, and we've got some attribute data, and we want to use some attribute to help us decide our territories, perhaps medium total household income. And let's say we want to set up 15, let's go again, 15 sales territories, say. We want to output all our geographic stuff from the location to a file. We'll use this one. And there's our initial allocation. Now we can do various things, such as we've seen before. You can put a barrier so that Sydney Harbour up here is used, and we digitize Sydney Harbour barrier like that, say, and perhaps another barrier down here in Botany Bay, where Captain Cook arrived many years ago, and run our algorithm again, apply that, Now, also in our territories, we can come in and give site names. So, for example, site 7 up here, for example. We might want to make this the territory for Fred, say. And we display it. So now it says Fred. And what's more, we might want to digitized a location for the site. And this is where Fred lives, so we'll move the site, run it again. Fred's now there. Similarly, site, well, you can go around all the sites, fix their locations, change their names and so on. Now, the location is defined once again in terms of, in this case, the demand, but basically it's a series of assigned zones. So we can output our solution as a combined file, and let's call it sales territories, say, combined file. Now we can use these as a basis for territories. So we go up to the top menu, application, perhaps we'll go back and change our device file again, use some other device file, applications, find territories. Now we're now working on Sydney, so our base map will be Sydney postcodes again. Use the postcode attribute data again, up there. Now our new territory, we can start using combined file, and a combined file is the sales territory combined file. And okay, so we've got some initial territories there, and once again we can display the territory names, and Fred's up here, for example, and you can do a chase around with things. So we've got some couple of zones here that haven't been picked up, so we could add that, for example, to site 5. Fine. Add a zone selected, so we'll select that and we'll add it to site 5, and so on. So you can wander around and add and delete and move things around in these various sites. So we can add a zone selected again, and we could take that, for example, and add it to site 5, I think it was. So now it's added into that. Now you can add other stuff onto this if you want to, overlays and things, but the main thing is when you've defined your full set of territories, what you can do is you can output territory names as a geographic file. So we'll output territory names, say, names, You can output the territories as a combined file, so we'll just overlay the one we had. We can now use the combined file to, instead of just looking at it here, we'll actually amalgamate it up. So we can use our postcode, use our combined file, and we want it no, we'll use this retail sales. No, we won't. We'll use net. And also amalgamate up our zones using the combined file. So our base map is our Sydney postcodes, and we can put out as our use our combined file, and we output it as say territory zones. Territories. And what else have we got? We can now build the territory zones up into the zones file, territory zones. This gives us a full hierarchy. Okay, and we're done. We can now go up to our top menu, go and display zones for an attribute file. Now our zones attribute file was territory.at, I think. And we can import our territory zones as the geographic file, and there's a map. Now let's change the quantization method, use continuous color just to be quick, and we can see each of our territories there, and we can just look at that in the usual way, look at our data which we've amalgamated up. But now instead of a whole lot of zones, we've got just the territories amalgamated. Now we put overlays on, for example, we can put the boundaries from our original Sydney postcodes on there if we want to. Line number 2. Something for the legend, and now we've drawn all our. So it's not a very good choice. So overlay will remove the line segments overlay, and we'll add a line segments overlay again, the postcodes, and we'll use line number 3, say. Okay, there's all our original zones there. We can also overlay names for sites, and remember we put out the names of the territory names. Okay. And there's all our names of our territories. There's Fred and all the other ones that we were too lazy to change. And what else can we overlay? Well, that'll probably do. But then you can do your basic analysis on your attribute data, which you've amalgamated in terms of territories. And that's about it.